Looking back now, I'm starting to realize just how many things I've left unfinished. Most people wouldn't really think much about this, but now, after last week, I feel almost sick about what I may have passed up. It seems like just every other day, standing in an office, furiously cussing out the boss in my head because the reason I was late was that he wouldn't pay me enough to fix my piece of junk car. I can think of only one word to describe him: phony. Yelling at the workers all day without doing a lick of work himself. Usually, I would have let that bastard have it, but this time was different. Phoebe got me this job. Our family had been hit with hard times and couldn't afford as many things as we used to, so I had to work to get through school. My boss was the father of one of Phoebe's friends, which is the reason why I'm currently employed. The work was mind-numbing, doing the same thing over and over again, day after day. After a week of tour work, my solution came to me while I was looking at my late brother Allie's baseball mitt. I kept a small book with me at all times, and whenever I felt my sanity start to slip away, I would write in it. What I wrote could be anything from a short story to a poem I had just made up. Doing this helped me get through the day, but what I looked forward to the most was getting home. As I walked in, I shouted my usual hello to my mom, who was in the other room, and waited as I heard the stampede of tiny feet come rushing towards me. "Hi Holden, how was your day?" Phoebe always asked that, and I couldn't help but to chuckle because I always answered the same. It was great up until the point I left. This would send her into a fit of giggles, and after she was through, she would always say, "Hey Holden, can I read what you wrote in your journal today?" I would always answer yes. I enjoyed her reading them. She was funny when she did it. She would start out acting like she was one of my teachers and tell me what I could work on and what she liked. And I would always answer the same way: "You got it, ma'am." One day when we were talking, Phoebe said out of the blue, "Did you know that Jane moved back down the street?" That statement shook me, making me feel a flood of emotions. "Then we should go see her," I said in a response. But in truth, I didn't want to see her. I was afraid that the Jane I knew didn't return, but an entirely new person. I gave a random excuse so I would have a reason to leave the house and the conversation. I needed to walk around and think. The museum was always like a sanctuary for me. Whenever I needed to do anything, I just went there. It just helped me clear my head, you know? I just could help feel like I was being torn up inside over Jane. I couldn't understand why I felt this way. I should be running over to her house right now. All I could think about was, what if she changed? What if she didn't even remember me? As I thought deeper and deeper about it, I knew that Jane had changed. Nobody could go that long without changing. There would be no point in seeing her. It would probably just be awkward bringing up memories from her old life. For some reason, I feel like when I look at what people did in the past, it helps me decide on what I should do. I think I do this because my teachers told me I should learn from the past, or to be more accurate, my past mistakes. As I walked around, I started to notice all of the problems there are today if someone made a different decision. Then my thoughts started going a new direction. What could I have done differently? What have I just let slip past in my life? All of a sudden I started to feel faint. I felt the rising urge to start sprinting away from this place and to not turn back. Just to keep running would be so simple, an easy life. But I knew that deep down, I wanted something more than a carefree life. You know the expression, to go out with a bang? I figured that if I kept running, I would just fade away, not be remembered for anything other than the guy who ran away from his problems. So I started walking, not running away from my problems, but directly towards them, to meet them head on. My walk came to a crawl as I approached her door. I knew that this had to be the first step if I was going to do anything with my life. I have to admit, my mind was racing to come up with a reason to turn around and just go home. I would wake up in the morning, go to work, and it would be like none of this ever happened. My hand wouldn't stop itself though. I was already reaching for the doorbell before I even knew what was happening. There was a ring, and I stood there, cemented in place, dreading that the same Jane I knew all those years ago wouldn't be the one greeting me at the door. I heard a familiar voice call out from inside, but it didn't sound the same. It sounded more tired, but it still had the warm kindness as before. At first I was sad, but then I realized that the same change had happened to both of us. We grew up. She invited me inside and we talked for what seemed like hours. We told each other about what we had missed all those years apart. After talking for that long, I noticed an old wooden checkers board on the small table, the pieces already set up. When I approached it, I realized that it was the same board that we used to play on when we were younger. Looking back at Jane, I realized that the girl who moved away all those years ago was the same girl standing next to me today, and I wouldn't have given up that time we spent together for anything in the world.